Hey, welcome back. This is the F1000 podcast. And listen, we will take sponsors. We are open for sponsorship. I am Chaps. I'm back again this week with Mike. We're here for the Qatar Grand Prix or the Qatar Grand Prix. We're going to bet $1,000 on the race tomorrow. It's a sprint weekend. Let's go.
Why do you have to do that? Why do you just have to enrage the 7 people that watch us? Why do you do that? So I have to. Okay, I got to jump in quickly. Yeah, I got to jump in quickly because there's news coming out. This, I think it came out about an hour ago when we were still asleep.
While I was still sleeping.
Literally.
What's happening? What's going on?
So apparently, F1 could mandate a minimum of 3 pit stops during the race on Sunday, and this is because of like some tire wear issue that they just discovered following the first practice session at Lusail. So this is like brand new news. We're going to have to try to factor this into our analysis somehow, chaps, because the FIA...
Who's on it? Is Albert on it right now? Where are you seeing this?
I'm just reading a few different articles that have come up, but... So, it looks like the FIA and Pirelli are saying that putting mileage on some of the tire compounds could... Okay, this is like... They're talking... Some very technical stuff here, but could result in circumferential damage of the tires with subsequent air loss. The gist of what I'm reading is the curbs. So there's been a lot of talk about the new curbs that have been installed at the venue, and
they're less abrasive.
Yeah, well, apparently they're causing, I guess, like the tires to collapse after 20 laps or so. So that's kind of a big deal. And so what they did was they delayed the start of the sprint today by 20 minutes because they want to fit in a 10-minute practice session. Apparently,
I'm seeing.
That's because what they're doing is they're revising the track limits at two of the so
turns
12
and 13.
Yeah, those 2 right-handers. Okay. And this is
so it's actually going to shorten the track. It looks like.
Yeah, I kind of noticed this actually because the racing line was like taking them outside of the curb line essentially.
Well, this is the thing, dude. And I love, oh, man, who's the guy? Who's the guy that does all the interviews with Haas right now? Fittipaldi? Yeah. I love, like, his point. If they put a wall there, the racing line is not taking you into the wall. The racing line is taking them into the curb because they all cheat and exploit as much as they can of the track. Yeah. And I don't know if you I don't think you touched on it, but the last time, we've only been here once. When we were here last time, the curbs were a lot higher, and they were a natural deterrent to going wide. Whereas this year, for some reason, they minimized the curbs, so everyone's just using them. And I guess after
they minimized them, they minimized them because they were weren't they puncturing? They punctured the tires on them or something.
But that's the point. Then don't go over the curbs. Then the racing line is on the track, not the curb. Like I love Fittipaldi's perspective. If it's a natural deterrent, the drivers won't use it. They'll exploit the fastest line that doesn't damage their car. Whereas the way the track is so far this weekend, I guess it's the worst of both worlds because the drivers think that the fastest line is to use it, but then it's also killing the tires.
Yeah. It doesn't seem, maybe we factor this in again to our analysis in some way, but so you change the track limits at those 2 turns, but that doesn't extend the tire life on the track over 20 laps. Like, this is still going to be a 3-stopper, I guess, right? Like, is that...
Well, so Albert's picked it up, and he's got a post here in English, which is awesome. Thank you, Albert.
Sweet.
And then number 4 is they're going to test it during that 10-minute little practice familiarization session, but they're going to wait to see if that problem's still evident. And if it is evident, then they're going to employ the minimum 3 pit stops and give each team an extra 2 set of tires.
Okay.
So they have 22 tires instead of 20.
So they're not planning on introducing any extra sets at the moment. There's no extra sets going into the pool at the moment, but maybe
unless they do this pit stop. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, let's bring that back to the teams because we like to start with the teams. Does that level the playing field and maybe ruin any advantage that a team that manages their tires better because now they all have to come in 3 times anyways? And I'm looking at Mercedes.
Yeah, I mean, I would imagine that that probably hurts Mercedes the most out of the top four teams, we'll call it.
It just takes
Oh,
away, like, their advantage over Ferrari is laps 20 to 40 on a stint. And if they're
yeah.
going to say, well, you got to pit after lap 20, like, where's that
Well,
advantage go?
with the changes that they made to, it looks like the floor going into Suzuka, you could argue that that advantage on extending tire life doesn't exist for Mercedes anymore, though. So ironically,
Because Ferraris looked, yeah.
right? Like we've always been saying, like, prove it to us. I mean, Fred Vasseur,
Yeah.
the team, they throughout the year were adamant that they were getting on top of the tire problem, but we kept seeing it prop up. And I think that they were struggling a little bit in Singapore, but they brought this update, the floor update to Japan. We were on
Hmm.
them last time that we made our bets, and they proved, I think, to everybody that they were able to maintain race pace at the end of their stint, and Leclerc was holding off both of the Mercedes. Like, he ended up extending his delta that he had at the end of that race, even though they were
Hmm.
fighting. So I don't think that I think I would say that the tire wear situation going into, like you said, which is going to be a relatively abrasive track, is maybe relatively even. And I would say now maybe the advantage is with those teams that get in and out of the pits effectively, because this is like, I think it's like the third longest pit loss of the season. So if you
That's an
go,
interesting
you
point.
usually I see. This is like, this is getting into the weeds, but when you look at like fastest team pit stops, like I'm gonna objectively look at the bet,
All
how
right, I'm
they
going to
lay
put
out
the
the
brakes
props,
on
right?
because we're going to do the.
Yeah,
We got to get to the weeds later. Let's stay
yeah.
let's stay high.
No,
I
no, no,
like
no.
where you're going, but
But
yeah.
listen. Like, this is my team. This is the team perspective on things. Is when you look at team pit stops. So Red Bull immediately, they're usually the fastest. Ferrari and
Do you work for
McLaren. I'm just
DHL?
saying. I
Are you a DHL
Buddy, I
employee?
would. I would. I feel like I do sometimes because I'm always talking up the fastest team pit stop. So listen, getting in and out of the pits though, that those precious seconds, Mercedes is not up there. So if they have no tire advantage and they are generally like back with the midfield or even further back in terms of their pit stop times, and you mandate a three stopper, then advantage to Ferrari, McLaren, and Red Bull in the team game, essentially. That's all I'm saying. That's a very high level way of looking at things if the three stopper
For
comes into play.
advantage to Red Bull and McLaren. I don't think you could loop Ferrari into a good basket for pit stops. Like,
Well,
come on,
okay,
man.
timing, you could
Like,
for
come,
timing. Like,
like,
if you
come
look at
on,
some of
man.
the data for timing. And
Yeah,
Jeff,
well, aren't we like
you
three
have to
races
admit,
removed from them not having a tire ready to go?
yeah,
That's
that's a
time.
different. No, that's different
That's
from that's their
That's nine
preparation. We'll
seconds.
call it. That's preparation. We'll call it.
That's 9 seconds in
They
the pit is what it
it's
is.
yeah, I know that's fair. But they've been better.
But
You
I
have
hear
to
you
admit,
though.
strategy they've been better. Strategy they've been better. Preparation they've been better generally.
I think it's fair
And
to say that week in week out, it's Red Bull or Mercedes gets the DHL fastest pit stop
McLaren,
for a
not
few
Mercedes.
years.
Not
Sorry,
not Mercedes. Not
yes, yes,
Mercedes.
yes,
Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
McLaren, Red Bull or McLaren for like the past 3 years. It's been one of those two.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, but we're in the weeds. We're in the weeds,
We're
man.
not in the weeds, though. This is helping to support, if it's a three stopper, if it's a mandated three stopper, and tire wear isn't going to be making a difference between. So what do we think from a tire management perspective? But maybe we'll take a step back and talk about that. So this is an abrasive track. You've got
Hmm.
uh, the lack of mechanical grip that results from blowing sand onto the track. It takes a bit of time for the track to rubber in, but there's a high degree of track evolution. And so we know, and actually, well, let's go back to the layout of the track itself. It's a lot of high speed and medium speed corners. There's a lot of
Yeah,
lateral tire stress anyway, right? And certainly if they're identifying a problem with like the actual integrity of the tires after 20 laps, we know that that's going to factor in to the race itself. So tire management is going to be key without a doubt.
hmm
And we went through this in Japan. We just did it. And the teams that survived in the end were Red Bull, McLaren, Ferrari. George did his like crazy two stopper that, or one stopper that didn't work out. I don't see anybody, if they mandate a three stopper, then you're not going to see different strategies. So it's just going to be on balance
That's a good point.
who manages their tires the best, right?
And they're going to
Who
give
has the
everyone
most
two fresh
life.
shots.
Yeah,
Yeah, there's not
yeah.
going to be any difference in like, oh, we kept, because there was teams yesterday that didn't use a new set of softs, and was it Ferrari that didn't use a new set of softs in Q1? Like teams were already playing the tire
No,
saving
it
game.
was Mercedes was doing it, weren't they? I thought it was Mercedes.
There was
Or
someone,
no, they came. So
I think
yeah,
it
no,
was
yeah, they did. They tried to do it on mediums, I think, in Q1. I think they or did they do it on
something like
mediums? I
that.
can't remember. Yeah,
The only thing like high level with the teams, the only thing, and I don't know if actually well to let the people know there are no team match bets right now and no group betting, so we're gonna find some ways to find the teams. But what I liked about Mercedes for no other reason than they're the only team that has both cars, well, a little bit higher than where they should be, but like both cars are performing this weekend.
yeah.
Because the other top four, everyone's so split. So it's like I get your point on the cars and what they're good at, and I like the Ferrari, but you've got Sainz down in 12th. And then Red Bull, you've got Checo down in 13th. And even the McLarens are split. And, like, don't even get me started on 2 seconds slower Lance Stroll.
Yeah, so I think that allows us to maybe focus on some of the individual finishing position bets versus the team bets that we normally like to make. I
Yeah.
think it makes sense that the reason they're not on the board could be because they're trying to factor in this whatever directive is going to come out from the FIA and from Pirelli, but maybe it's because the teams are so splintered that they just have a tough time establishing odds at this point. Maybe that's part of it. I have no idea why the book wouldn't have group betting, wouldn't have team betting, and wouldn't have the match bets between the drivers at this point. Maybe that's part of it. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either. Do they have them? They don't have them for the sprint. Oh, the sprint, they would need the grid order first. That makes
Yeah,
sense.
they need the grid order.
There are. Wait, are these new, Mike? Both cars podium points in top six, or were those there this morning when you looked? Are they? Are
They
we
were
getting?
no, they
They're
were
not
there.
getting sprinkled in. They were there.
No,
Okay,
they were
well,
there.
is most team points Red Bull? If Mercedes, we've done this math a number of times. Like if Mercedes doesn't hold on to the 2-3, then Max winning the race gets Red Bull the most points. Is that something that before we move off of the teams, I'm interested in that, and I'm interested in maybe looking at double top six after this category.
What's the double top six pay?
I haven't looked at that yet, but the most team points for Red Bull is minus 125. Now Mercedes is plus
Yeah.
money, but I think you gotta go with Max winning this race, and then the Mercedes not finishing 2-3
I think just
would
based on
give
what we've
Max the most
already
points, right?
talked about. Okay, so let's think about it. So you you picked McLaren to finish on the podium in the sprint. Do you see two McLarens on the podium here? I mean that finish
Well,
starting
that's
six and
tough. I
ten.
mean, I
Starting six
when
and
I
ten is
picked
difficult. Yeah.
it's difficult, and this is a tough
Yeah.
track to pass on. And when I picked that for the sprint, the shootout hasn't happened, so there's a chance they start 2-3. I mean, that was a big part of why, because they proved to me in practice one and in the first qualifying sessions they have the pace. They're the second fastest car on this grid. They just everyone was struggling with track deletions. But once you get to the race, they're not. They don't delete your lap. You just you get like 5 warning or 3 warnings. Like guys can
Yeah.
they can do that fast lap and go a little wide in the race and keep that pace that they've shown.
If
McLaren is
they
the second fastest car.
and if they make these changes at 12 and 13, there might be less of a chance that they're going to have a track
Yeah, but it
limits
was
problem anyway, right? Like
that is a good
yeah,
point. It was five and
yeah.
six that kept
It was 5
catching
and
both
6 for them,
McLarens
yeah.
out.
Yeah.
Yeah, on the exit of five.
Well, here's I'll say this. I mean, it seems like the major opportunity. So it is a difficult track to pass on, like you said. And it seems like the major opportunity to do that is on the straight, right? So you need the straight line speed. I would say
Yeah,
advantage Red Bull, obviously for that reason. I would say advantage Ferrari because of how focused they've been on increasing straight line speed. McLaren v Ferrari in that regard. I mean, it seems like they're still kind of draggy, but McLaren was
I'd
looking
put the
relatively quick in a straight line too.
I consider those two to be very similar in straight line. To me, it's Red Bull's the
Yeah.
fastest straight line. McLaren
Yeah.
and Ferrari are very close, and then Mercedes is still the draggiest out of the top four.
Yeah, I would still I think it looks like well, let me see if I can get the data on it, but it still looked like uh Ferrari was quicker. Well, was that I don't know. Let me see if I can find the data on the straight itself. Let me
let's
see.
think about this
Hold on.
though. So if Mercedes gets a 2-4 split, so someone sneaks in, I mean that the best day? I mean if they finish 2-3, they get most points. 2-4 gives them 30 points. Max gets 25 for winning, so we do need Checo then to get into the points. Or do we
So
take
you
the flip
can't.
side and no? Because we're
You
kind
take
of
it up.
starting with Mercedes
No.
isn't the bet,
Yeah.
right?
I don't. We couldn't. We're not gonna. We have to fade. I think we have to fade Mercedes in the positions that they're in, right? Just based on what we've talked about. I think so, right? Like I
And they're
don't.
not
That
well, they're
seems like the
not there from
direction we're going
pace.
in. No, and
How
that's a good.
hilarious, really quickly. How
Yeah.
hilarious was the post qualifying? Like Lando, we're gonna interview you. Oh no, actually no, not Lando. Oscar, we'll interview you. And then mid interview, we're actually just. Did you know about that, Oscar? That you were under investigation? Okay, well, you're in sixth. So is
Yeah.
Lewis
We don't
around?
care. Yeah. Where's Lewis?
Yeah.
My God.
Both cars top six. Mercedes minus 250. McLaren minus 150. Which is interesting because Lando's in 10th. Red Bull plus 100. So they don't see. Vegas sees the Mercedes staying up there.
Yeah. I
At
don't see
least in
them
the
staying
top
up.
six.
I don't see them staying up there though.
Dude, who gets them out of the top six? The Alpines? Don't tell me the Alpines.
No, it's.
You're
I mean,
looking
it's
at Lando
possible.
coming from 10th.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think Alonso stays up there, right? If we're talking about pace,
Man, like that's
like
a
if there's
tough one
racing
too,
and
though.
it's not just it's not just safety cars and shit happens and Alonso still just stays there. If it's pace, Leclerc should get Alonso, Piastri should get Alonso, but Norris
Yeah.
from 10th. I
Why
don't
was
see them.
Aston
I don't see the
Martin so
Mercedes
quick?
falling out of the top six, man.
Do you have any speed trap data for
Like no,
Aston
because that's
Martin?
an FP2 thing, and we don't.
Yeah, we didn't get it.
No one got it. Like no, the FP1 was such a mixed session too with the wind and everything. It was there's like no data that came out of it.
Man, they were
The sprint's
they
tough for
were
everyone.
like fast, man.
The
Like, they
Aston
were
Martin.
fast on on straights, which makes no sense. Like just looking at some of the car performance data and the gap to Red Bull.
I'm just gonna do a quick because I think we should get into drivers when we talk
Yeah.
Aston Martin. I'm not betting on Stroll, so if we're talking Aston
No,
Martin,
no,
we're
no.
getting into single driver options.
Yeah, I agree.
But before we do, both cars points finish. Red Bull's minus 350, Mercedes 334. I think he goes top six if you're going to go on the marks. Ferrari minus 188. Alpine plus 150 for them to hang on to both cars. But I don't think I want to put a bet on both cars in the Alpine
No, not a chance.
for the top 10. No.
Not a chance. No. I mean, I minus
Well,
188 for
before
Ferrari, both cars to finish in the points. I mean,
you got Signs
that's
coming from 12th.
12. So he's got to get two positions, and he's down with
Oddly, and I'm on the
Scott.
fence with it, but it is my biggest concern for Signs the fact that Checo might just pass him and then kind of be a bottleneck. Signs gets the benefit of starting ahead of Checo.
Okay, so let's.
Like, is
We've
this going
got.
to be what race was it where we saw Leclerc and Checo like battling in 13th, and it cost them both a bunch of time, and all they needed to do was move up? Was one of the do you remember that happening? It's very vague in my
Yeah, I
head.
do. I do.
Like, is that going to happen with Carlos and Sergio, where maybe only one of them gets into the points because they just fought each other in 12th the whole day?
Well, okay, here. Okay, so there's two positions in this top 10. Like those two Alpines don't make sense where they are. I guess this is what's confusing me at this
I'd
track.
say the Romeo too. I know you like Alfa Romeo for
Well,
some
no, so
reason.
I don't like Alfa Romeo, but what I do like Bottas on, man, if you look back at this guy, he does well on these tracks. I don't know what it is. Like he is good in low grip like situations for whatever reason.
Hmm.
You can even think back to Bahrain, actually. Just like think about his first drive of the year when that car was, I mean, it hasn't really been developed all that much anyway, but like Bottas snuck into the top 10, and at the time they were nowhere on race pace. at that point. But he just seems to extract the most. Like bring him to the Middle East, put him on like a sandy track. He, I don't understand. Like I would actually, we could look at individual bets for him because he does things with that car that, well, not just sorry, not with the. He's had a history of doing this with Mercedes too. You can look back to some of his finishes. Like he's looked strong at these tracks in the desert where people deal with like the struggling track evolution, low mechanical grip. He, for whatever reason, seems to thrive. I don't understand why, but that is a characteristic of his driving style. So I wouldn't say let's count him out completely. I will count out Gasly and Ocon because
I agree with you there. Are you?
yeah,
That was really well said. I'm like, we're not betting on an Alfa Romeo. I'm sorry.
no, but I'm
I'm not.
saying
No, I'm not sorry.
bet around them though. Like don't let's not pretend like he's going to drop out of that top 10 or at least threaten to be P11 to P9 because it's not. I don't think it's realistic to say that he's going to come out.
He's gonna finish in P15.
He's gonna he'll be in P15 after lap 100% because he's I've never seen a guy be worse at starting, especially in the
Yeah.
midfield. Like I mean he's gonna bring the car home, which is great, but he'll drop like 3 positions and then he's gonna like his final stint, he'll just be like P11, 100%. Is
Yeah.
there finishing position? Can we just
Maybe.
get exact finishing position?
Exact P11 Botas.
Yeah, exact P11. Okay, either way. So the this is a whole track
The
where
Alpines suck though.
yeah, so high speed and the straights are literally the bread and butter. If you're going to make a pass on this track, you're not doing it, and there's like very few slow and medium speed. Well, there's medium speed, but there's no slow speed corners. That car, from what I understand, generally better in the slow and medium speed stuff, not as good, not nearly as good in the high speed and the straights. And so you've got all of these superior cars starting behind them. Like they're gonna go backwards. There's no way they're not. Like Lando's going ahead. Yuki Tsunoda might be going ahead because that's a car that looks pretty good in the high speed stuff. It looked decent, right? It looked decent in Suzuka,
I'm coming
right?
around. I'm coming around on the
It
AlphaTauri.
worked, man.
Whatever they
It
brought
looked
in
decent.
Singapore, and like
Yeah.
yeah, it's a race car now somehow.
So you go car. So Lando's going up. Yuki can fight for like a top 10 position. Carlos is going to go up. I have to imagine. Checo's going up, and the only people going down are the Alpines, and maybe we've talked about it, but we think maybe the Mercedes are going back to.
So we started that train of thought with the Ferraris in the top 10. I really like that. And minus 188.
Minus 188.
I like it. I don't know if I really like it, but I like it because the Alpines come out. I would say at this point, Bottas comes out of the top 10, and I don't think Tsunoda is going to hold up Sainz.
No,
He might take him out.
he could take him out, but it's unlikely
Now
though
I
that
got
that
sunrise.
he's
I
gonna
think I
be-
got to close my.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
gonna close
Close.
my window. That's too bright, eh? Yeah.
Yeah, it's too much.
Nice. At least they have shorts on this week.
Okay.
Um. Hmm. Is McLaren both in the top 10?
There's no way
What
that's
feels
gonna be
what feels more guaranteed to you, McLaren or Ferrari?
McLaren.
It's minus 250 to minus 188, and let's not let the 1 to the 2 make us think that that's a big difference. That's not that big of a difference.
Yeah. So I mean,
We're talking
obviously-
what, 64 points? Like,
Yeah, McLaren top 10. So both cars top 10 is the better bet without a doubt.
I think so, and I don't think that's too much value to leave off the table.
No, okay, put that down. But put the Ferrari down too. Well, I'm not going to take two-car bets. That doesn't make any sense to me,
No,
right? But
but you know what? This actually is a great segment or segue to the drivers. Let's start talking drivers. And I'm going to stay right here because I like the line on Charles Leclerc to stay in the top 6. He starts in 5th. Guess that line. What would you think that line should be?
to finish in top, so he's 5 to stay in the top 6 is it's got to be a minus money line. Maybe it's like a minus 150.
110. I actually
110.
thought you were going to
Man,
go higher, to be honest. You kind of ruined
it's
my point there. But like that, to me, that's like a minus
it's almost
250
even money.
starting in fifth and in a fast race car.
It's almost even money.
They're
Okay.
saying that for that to lose, the Alpines get him, plus Alonso stays up. Like, I think he gets Alonso. And then Piastri can come in. Norris can come all the way in. I don't think the Alpines come in. Like, who... It has to, something has to go wrong for him to not be in the top six, I think. And we don't bet around
Yeah.
something going wrong.
No. I completely agree. So I made this point in my hot pick because I think that Leclerc has the pace to end up. I think I picked top two in the sprint. He's got to qualify well
You did,
in order
yeah.
to do that, which is this is like super aggressive, right? But my point
Just
was,
now realizing
Yeah.
both of our bets, hot picks can't win unless it's
No,
Leclerc.
that's okay. That's
Or
okay.
Leclerc,
Yeah.
McLaren.
Yeah. Imagine that would be unreal. I don't think it's.
What
I
a
don't think that's good.
In that
Yeah.
case, we left so much money on the table, not taking like an exact podium or something.
No, I know it's crazy. My point on Leclerc
Yes.
in the night sessions. So they were quick in FP1 in what I would argue would be theoretically difficult conditions for the Ferrari. So it was really windy, which we know that the car has struggled with, and
Yeah.
it was really hot, right? So we know like a lot of the times they have a difficult time keeping those tires in the right window, but they looked the second fastest to Max. They looked good. They looked quick. Then when the temperature went down for
Third
qualifying,
fastest.
third fastest. Well, it was it was a Max.
Devin
right?
McLaren.
Yeah, no, McLaren was only on the hard, so it's hard to tell, right? But they looked
Oh, I
at
see
least
what you-
competitive.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they looked competitive on one lap pace, which is not a surprise, obviously, right? But and then when the temperature went down so qualifying was difficult for them, and maybe this is the wrong way to think about it, but I feel like I have confidence that they might be able to fix these issues that they saw through some setup changes. But the temperature went down. Sainz was really struggling because that car, I guess, like when they started losing tire temperature, the car became really like oversteery. That's what he was saying in his interview after. And
Okay.
my understanding in the whole Leclerc Sainz dynamic is that one of the reasons Leclerc has been struggling compared to Sainz is that because of these setup changes that they've been making and some of the development direction of the car, it's become more understeery, which is more of a Sainz direction for the car to move in because it's more conservative versus like hyper aggressive instead of that snappy.
So anecdotally,
oversteeriness.
that makes a lot of sense because since they
Yeah.
brought those upgrades, like Sainz was back-to-back pole, the car seems to be suiting Sainz. And when I think about Leclerc mistakes, specifically the castle section in Baku, he needs a car that snaps into that turn.
Yeah,
and if
that's
it's
a little further back.
and if it's
Yeah.
understeering, no, I'm saying like years
Yeah.
back. Like
Yeah.
just Leclerc wanting a car to be snappy and oversteer rather than those when he crashes into that castle section, that's an understeer.
Yeah.
All three
Issue.
times that he's gone into that wall. Like
Yeah. No, that's his driving style. He's like a hyper aggressive, superhuman.
Yeah.
He's like Max in the sense that they both want like a really
I was
snappy
just
front
thinking,
end.
does he
super
want to be
oversteery.
Max? Yeah.
Well, no, it's just if you're an elite driver, you're able to like. There's the other end of the spectrum is like the Fernando Alonso's, the Carlos Sainz's of the world that are kind of like managing. You're managing your pace through corners type of thing, right? Because you want the understeer essentially. But that's what
Like
happened.
they could be in a drift car.
Yeah,
You'd just be drifting around.
kind of realistically based on
Well,
at least Sainz's
Carlos
background,
Sainz
right? Like, I mean,
Sr.
exactly, right?
He's a rally car driver.
just-
Exactly. Yeah.
He's spent a lot of time in rally cars, right? So what Sainz was saying to me is that the car in the lower temperatures, well, I mean, it's still really hot, but certainly like different temperatures than you saw during the daytime sessions, gravitated toward Leclerc's driving style, which I think is going to be, that's part of the reason why there's probably a bit of a fade on him not to stay in the top six is the books are thinking Leclerc has been struggling, he's been fighting the car, but I would argue that we're actually going to see conditions on Sunday under the lights that finally bring the car back into a window that he feels comfortable with. So
Because all the dust and sand will naturally make it a little understeery, which would help Leclerc.
it's going to make it more oversteery. That's my point. It's going to be a bit more
Oh.
oversteery at that point because of the temperature changes.
That is
Yeah.
your point.
That
But I
is the
think
point.
the sand would do the opposite.
No, the sand. So as the track so you have to keep this in mind as the track continues to evolve. So they have a session in the morning, right? So you get the race session.
There's no feeder series here this week though. So
Oh,
yeah, they're gonna do all this today. Is it not just gonna get sandy overnight? Like
no, that's true.
there's no
Okay,
F2, there's no
but they'll clear.
GP that's gonna
Yeah,
clear it up in the morning.
they're gonna clear the track though. It's okay. So I mean, it's a 60. What is it? 60 lap race or something like that, right? So they're gonna
Eventually, yeah,
clear the
yeah, yeah.
track. Yeah, they're gonna clear the track. It's gonna evolve very quickly. So I would say that those final two stints that you're gonna see, because we're thinking there's gonna be three stops, you're gonna get like an oversteery. The cars are gonna become more oversteery, which suits Leclerc more, and he's gonna be comfortable in those final two stints in a way that we haven't seen him very comfortable yet. So I like if we're talking about the two Ferrari drivers to maintain position or to gain position, I like Leclerc over Sainz because of this change that likely is going to happen with tire temps, with track
Mm-hmm.
characteristics that I think are going to suit him more. And we know that the car has enough pace to stay in the top six. So I'm like I actually really like that bet.
I really like it, and I like it for the line.
Okay. Well, you like it for the line. That's a good point too. I don't like. I think that there's a bit of a fade that's happening from the books inherently because of the this perception that the car is moving away from Leclerc's driving style when we might happen to get some environmental characteristics that actually do the opposite, that move the car back into a window that he feels comfortable with. So I'm
Sure,
interested in that.
I agree with you there.
Yeah.
If they don't bring in this new directive and don't force people to take 3 pit stops, does that ruin your entire thinking about Ferrari?
I don't think so
I don't know if it
because
does for me, but I think
yeah,
it's worth asking the
yeah.
question
I don't think so. So it's going to be a two stopper.
because
So
we don't know.
if it's not a nailed on three stopper, it's going to be a two stopper, right? And I don't know if you've read. So some of Vassir's comments in well, okay, Singapore he mentioned it, but they definitely talked about it after Japan. Like they were saying things like we were too conservative with our tire management in the race. Like they're saying that they're like obviously you would be because you've struggled the entire season dealing with this DEG issue.
You have 10 races telling you your tires.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
So like you're always going to come in on the more conservative end of the spectrum in terms of your strategy, but then like it seems like they probably really have made some strides, right? So
Yeah,
I if it's a two stopper or if it's a three stopper, like I still give them an advantage over Mercedes. I think it's going to depend on how well those two
we don't
cars
even need
operate. Like that's we don't have to
we don't
worry about it.
even
Like we don't need to worry about
no, we
that.
don't even need him to get the Mercedes. If he
No,
gets him, gravy.
yeah. Can
We
he
don't
get
need him to
along?
do
Like
anything.
we don't need him to do anything.
Just don't
He could get
don't
Alonso.
crash.
Yeah, he could get Alonso. Like realistically, he should
Yeah.
be able to, right?
I think he gets Alonso off the start or early, and then it's like,
Like
okay, just settle into fourth, Charles. You know, make
I
sure
think
you
he
got
does.
4 tires when you come into the pits.
Well, that's always a risk, right? But I'm not afraid. So I'm not afraid to bet on Ferrari. I'm
I'm
not
not
afraid to bet
afraid.
on Leclerc. I'm not afraid to bet on Ferrari. I'm not afraid to bet on Leclerc at this point. That's just, I guess, maybe
Well,
the
to loop it
summary of
back,
all
I
of
like
that.
the I don't know if I would do both Ferraris in the top 10 and have Leclerc, but that's why I liked the segue of like maybe we do both McLarens in the top 10 and then our Ferrari is we have Leclerc in the top 6. Because again, we don't
Yep.
have the team match bets this week. Sorry,
Yeah.
sorry, folks, but
Oh yeah.
everyone knows we love those.
We do. We love him. We love him. Did you look? Have you looked
You've
at
got me really think.
combination podium at all or no?
I haven't. That would be in the weeds, Mike. Let's stay focused on single drivers.
No. What do you mean? We don't
I'm just gonna,
usually. Don't we do combination podium first before we get into the single driver bets?
no,
We haven't done that.
no combination's a weeds bet, but I'm also looking in the weeds already too. I'm not. It's not your fault.
You're already in the weeds. What the fuck, man? Are you
It's not
kidding
your
me?
fault. I'm exploring.
And
I'm exploring. I'm popping my
I
head
like
out.
what I'm yeah I like what I see here because like if we want to implement like some fades on Mercedes if we would like to do that so
I don't think I'd like to do that.
will Max and George finish on the podium? Do you think George is going to finish 4 from 2 realistically? Maybe he could. That's a plus money bet.
That's a coin toss in my head, dude. I could
Okay,
easily see the Mercedes just. I don't know. One of them's probably on the podium.
yeah. You
Like
think they could
probably
just
right.
manage the
How many
entire?
races is just a Merc? A Merc's just in P3.
Yeah, I mean I know.
Or like they're not the fastest car. They probably don't deserve it. Like how many race? Every race this year? Just like, oh yeah, Lewis was on the podium. Yeah, George made a podium. But the whole race was about the McLaren. We don't need to be on the Mercedes, but I don't think it's smart to say the Mercedes is dropping way down. And they have two cars up there. So they do have the benefit.
I know.
They're the only team with two cars. If this becomes 3 stops, that's an inherent benefit to have 2 cars there.
Yeah.
To manage 3 different pit stop cycles.
No. I agree where you're coming from. Like I don't wanna fade them too aggressively just because of track position. I think you're right. Like we know, because on a track that's difficult to pass, despite the fact that they might not have the straight line speed to fight off some of those faster cars, like you still think that they're probably going to hold a position up there.
Well,
one of them.
I think one of them's on the podium. They don't let you say, "Hey, does one team get one of their cars?" That would be such a nice bet to have. Give me that at minus 800. I'll take that every week. Just pick one team to have a single driver on the podium.
Minus 800. Yeah.
I don't know.
All right.
Dude, there's no number of race leaders. I thought this was going to be a snag. All this talk about 3 pit stops. Definitely, there's just going to be 100 leaders in this race.
Probably why it's not on the board, though, right? Like, if you think about it, it makes total sense that they would take it off the board.
I clicked on it. It's in the sprint, and it was plus 400. I'm like, what the hell am I? And then I saw sprint. But they don't have it for the race. Are we going weeds already? Is there... Let's see. Okay, hold on. Drivers, points finish. Who's out of the points that might have some decent odds to get into the points here? Nobody.
So you've got, like, the Alpine's holding position, which I, honest to God, I wouldn't feel comfortable. Man, plus 120 for my boy, Bottas.
Yeah.
I know, you know,
dude.
I know. You don't want to take him. I think, I think
top 10...
I think he's going to do it.
Between both Red Bulls should be there, both Ferraris should be there.
Yeah.
Both Mercedes, both McLarens, and then Alonso's stuck his nose in there. I don't think Bottas is the guy that... Well, maybe he is. Is he the 10th guy?
He's going to be the guy, man. I tell you, he's going to be the guy. It's not worth a plus 120 flyer on him, obviously. It's not even close to being the value that
the book has
be.
their... Yeah, the book has the turning point at the Alpines and then Bottas. Like, the Alpines are both minus 163. They're saying, well, one of them's going to crash, so you guys pick which one you want to stay in the points. And I don't want to make that pick.
No, we're not doing that. Oh, God.
What about, like, is it too crazy to look at, like, a Lando in the top 6? No. Is this the sprint? I keep clicking on the sprint. Was that the sprint?
Stop doing that.
No, well, was it though? Hold on. Qatar Grand Prix. Qatar. Top 6.
It's just guitar. The guitar.
Someone commented that it's like guitar. People are just teaching me how to talk, man. Hey, we started this podcast so that I could learn how to talk better.
You got to learn how to pronounce.
Thank you.
All the names of the drive. You got to pronounce all the names of the drivers, all the places that they race. This is good.
Yeah. Ocon.
Yeah.
Get this, dude. Lando Norris is minus 400 to be in the top 6.
Yeah, man, that's probably
from 10.
Fair. Well,
that's minus 400. They're going to be taking people's money.
No, I mean, he's probably going to finish in the top 6, man. Like, literally. They look unstoppable in the high-speed corners, man. Like, they look really good.
I hate that bet.
Why do you hate
I wish that was... I just wish it was shorter odds. Or longer? I get confused when it's minus. Longer odds, I want.
You want longer odds for everything because you want a higher payout. What do you mean?
Yeah. I like the dogs. Come on. Why is he not a dog? He's starting in 10th.
Okay, we're not looking at like fast. Like that's the weed. We're not getting into the weeds. Leader after lap team.
I don't like the fastest lap.
Man, this is so confusing. Like, why does this exist, chaps? Leader after lap number team, and then Red Bull is just minus 225 again after 10 laps. Any Red Bull. Like, it's not even Max. I guess Max is probably the same. Why wouldn't?
Is there any concern that Max wins the championship in the sprint and then is like
he doesn't
pissing
race.
himself hungover in the car tomorrow?
He doesn't race.
Just pulls over to the side and retires?
Imagine? No. I don't see any risk of that happening.
No. If anything, he would bottle the sprint because I do think part of him doesn't want to win the championship on a sprint.
No.
He's been anti-sprint almost from the start.
Yeah.
and
There's
now he's
no
gonna
way.
win it because he got 3 points on a Saturday. Like, he does, but then he put it on pole. It's not like he doesn't care. He's gonna go win the sprint.
Chaps, just hear me out here because this doesn't make any sense. This is another one of those things where I feel like I don't know what Bet365 is doing. This makes no sense though. Okay, so I want to make sure that I'm looking at the right thing. This is the Qatar Grand Prix. So let's go leader after lap and win race. Okay, so leader after lap 10 and to win the race is Max Verstappen at minus 200. You're like, all right, that's pretty well like a guarantee. Okay,
Yeah,
so even more odd is leader after lap number, just not to win the race, but just to lead. Like we talked about that last
it's
time.
220 minus 225.
It's minus 275 for Max Verstappen. Okay, just
Wait,
Max.
but,
I
but
know.
but any Red Bull.
Yeah, that's right. What? What? That doesn't make any sense.
Because I've already written down you get
That's-
both Red Bulls, and it's minus 225.
That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, why? How? Why? What are we missing?
I don't think we're missing anything. That doesn't make any sense at all. So Checo's not going to win, or Checo's not going to be leading after lap 10. But he's irrelevant.
Checo's irrelevant.
The point is, you get the same bet for 50 points longer. Like that is the same thing.
What are
Leader
we
after
missing?
lap number team, Red Bull.
Yeah,
We're not missing
and
anything.
he doesn't have to win.
That's correct.
This other one with worse odds, he has to win.
And then you get both cars in
putting
this
a star.
bet. Yeah. What the fuck is going on? Why?
I'm putting a star.
Why
I'm putting
can't
a
they?
star.
This is the second week in a row where they just can't set the odds for lap 10 properly.
Because they don't know, dude. No one's in the weeds like we're in the weeds. Are we in the weeds? We're in the weeds. Phew.
No. Now
There's
we are.
the transition.
Yeah, we're in the
no,
weeds now. We're in the weeds right now.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm putting a star. I like
Okay.
that.
let's put like $500 on it or something stupid. Let's put like $1,000 on it. What's
Like,
what's
is that
happening?
our only bet?
What's happening? Why is this happening?
What is happening? That makes no sense.
Like that's the that's the best bet that exists out there. That he's going to be leading the race after lap 10. So the irony is that the two cars that are behind him are the Mercedes. Like they're not going to get him. If it was the Ferraris, you
No,
might be
and
like,
if
oh,
they
maybe
do,
the Ferraris might get him. Like maybe they get him quickly and then he gets it back. Like he wouldn't. Nobody would hold it, but
But
the
to that
Mercedes
point,
aren't
the
gonna hold
Ferraris,
yeah,
the Ferraris might hold it for 10 laps like they did in Monza because
They
at
could.
least they have straight line speed.
yeah. They
Whereas
could.
the Mercs George could get him. He's not going to be able to hold him back.
No, he can't.
The first time back to the start finish, he's gone on the straight. I like it. I like it a lot.
Why does this keep happening?
Hi, Simon.
What else are we looking
You
at?
could hear
here? I
him
don't
on the
even-
show last week.
Could you? He made a debut.
Yeah.
A debut.
Oh yeah, big time. The big debut.
The big debut.
It's his big debut. Okay, so just for the sake of, I've got starred both McLarens in the top 10 minus 250, Leclerc in the top 6 minus 110, and the Red Bull to lead lap 10 minus 225. Let's take a look at the combo podium finishes.
Now he wants to get into the weeds because we're in them. We're in the weeds.
We're
buddy.
in the weeds now.
We're in
Now
them,
I'm in
right?
the weeds. There's a time and a place, Mike.
We're in them.
And you really like looking for the nose on this type of thing. When
do.
okay,
It's
so
a
I
fade.
see my eye was
I'm a
drawn
big-
to the same thing. Like,
I'm a big fade guy.
one of the concerns that I have, you started by saying fade Max and George, but they've got Max and Lewis at the exact same plus 100. So it literally is an even money. Flip a coin. One of those Mercs is going to be on the podium. Guess which one? Now, recent history, longer history, 7 world championships, the Great Wall of George. Everything says Lewis is probably the guy
Yeah.
that's on the podium.
He's,
Even if it comes down to the last lap, George will just go into a wall. And Lewis will get the podium.
That's true.
But I don't know. It's still a coin toss, man.
Yeah,
I don't love it. I mean, tell me if I'm harping the coin toss theory too much, but I just don't love. We can avoid a 50-50 pick a driver.
Yeah,
I think,
I
right?
don't see any reason to do it. We don't need to do it. I don't.
No.
No, I don't. Okay. What, give me a recap. What are we looking at right now? What do we have?
We've got 3 that I have starred because I wrote down the Ferrari's top 10, but I don't think we need that and the Leclerc.
No.
And I like McLaren to be in the top 10 better than Ferrari.
Definitely.
So we've got McLaren, both cars top 10 minus 250, Leclerc top 6 minus 110, and the Red Bull to lead lap 10 minus 225.
Okay, let's. I'm. Do you want to find a flyer? Like I don't. I'm good.
I'm good with these 3, and then let's look for a flyer. We're in the weeds. Let's see if we can stumble on something. Drag your feet while we're walking around here.
Are you? I don't see any. So there's no there's no forecast or anything like that, right? We can't bet for a podium right now. So that's
We are really handcuffed this week.
it's kind of
That's
shitty.
unfortunate.
Well, I don't care. You know what? If they want to do that to us, then I'll dump on Red Bull to be leading the race after lap 10. I'll dump on that. I don't have a problem with that. I'll take it.
I
I'll
had
take it.
no
buddy.
problem with that.
It's just the strangest thing of all time.
He starts in the lead.
He
Yeah.
does. He does start in the lead.
How many laps did he lead in a row? Like 500 this year?
Yeah.
From Miami to when? Like
From Miami
to like
to Monza.
Monza?
Yeah, literally.
Yeah.
What?
Oh man, we should have just been. Imagine we were just dumping one race leader for those 8 races. Like we were just like, we're gonna ride the wave. It'll lose it at one of these weeks. It's gonna lose, but we're gonna ride it until it does. Oh man.
Fuck. Maybe we should have just been dumping on Max to be leading after lap 10 the entire time.
Yeah. True.
What is going on?
Oh,
All right. Find
Grand
me
Slam.
something.
Yeah, we.
Man, it would have to be really good because I'm okay with just taking 3 bets and then just putting some money down on Max to be leading after lap. I put $600 on it.
That's more likely than Leclerc to stay in the top. That's the most likely bet. Max
That-
to just be leading in lap 10.
Is way more likely than both McLarens to finish in the points. You have
Everything,
2
yeah.
cars that
Way
have to
more
race
likely.
and they have to race an entire race. Is this going to be one of the? Is this going to be a spa? Are we going to do a spa thing here? A spa moment where we just dump everything on one bet and obviously
No.
no.
No. We're never doing all in one bet again.
We got to diversify.
We need to diversify.
Okay. So how about this? How about this then? Find me. Is there something that we can bet on where if that bet becomes compromised, that it opens up a window? It's not a hedge. It's like one of those like delicate hedges where there's some grid positions that we can
Yeah.
deal with, right?
I call them a little half hedge. To
It's
be
a little-
honest,
it's
the
a half
3 bets
hedge.
that we have on the table are kind of inherently half hedging each other.
They are because if the leader comes out, then another grid position opens up, which is good. We want that.
Right.
Is there like a podium thing? Podium finish?
They're just like, we got to be on a single driver, and they're pretty protective of the lines.
Has to win only.
Top 2.
It's these drivers, these
Yeah,
lines are
it's-
tough, right? Like, yeah, so it's just like 120 and 137. This is like that's stupid.
Well, the lines are all indicating that for podium, it's like it's one of the Mercs, and you just have to pick which one.
Which I don't like at all.
I don't love it.
Okay, how about this, chaps? Okay, how about this? How about this? I got something.
Okay.
Maybe I don't have something. This is like a straight hedge to that. I don't know if we want a straight hedge. But you could straight hedge it by under 6 seconds winning margin plus 500. So if Max is not leading
It's
after
not
lap
really
10,
a hedge, though.
you don't. Yeah, well, that's kind of what we're looking for, though, right? Like it's something that.
No, but I'm not sure it's related. Like, it doesn't. I think it might be irrelevant to the top leading after lap 10. Like, he could take the lead in lap 12 and then still go build a 20-second because he just has the pace and he was
Well,
biding his time.
No, I'm like, what scenario is he not leading after lap 10? The only scenario that exists is some sort of mechanical failure. Really, right? Like we just
And
talked
then you're
about
saying whoever else wins the race, it's
is not
tight.
winning.
It's at
yeah,
least under
it's not
6
running
seconds.
away with the race at that point. Like the
Yeah,
Mercedes,
what's the line?
it's plus 500.
That's an interesting flyer. I like that it's like technically alive right to the end.
Even
And does 3 pit stops? Does that help bunch up?
I don't know, maybe.
I don't know what that would do. The only other
That's a
thing I was looking
legitimate
at,
like fade,
I
kind
like
of in
that as
some
a
ways.
flyer.
Yeah.
I like that as a flyer. Little $50 wins you 250 if Max just doesn't run away with it, and if he does run away with it, we've got bulk on him that he had that
He
lead at
just
lap 10.
leading after lap 10, yeah.
Is it worth looking at a Williams to DNF? There's no walls, which is tough, but they
And it's
both went off the track.
it's always
It's
worth
so
it's
windy.
always worth it.
It's
What
so windy.
what's that
High
at?
speed corners is not what the Williams does. It's only plus 225. Sorry,
I
plus 250.
I think I would rather take the plus 500. It's not the
Yeah, I like the plus 500, I think.
Okay, is there any okay, so let's look okay, so
Okay.
longer than plus 500.
So that was under 6 seconds, right?
Yeah.
And we're due for one of these winning margins to come around.
It's I mean, it's not random, but it kind of there is an element of randomness to it for sure.
Yeah.
Classified
End
as
of
last,
first lap position. Is there
you know I
any
like
nice odds for someone to get gobbled up?
classified as last finisher. You know I'm dialed in on that, baby.
You're looking for Magnussen again?
I he could easily be he's plus 225. He could easily finish last. I don't know.
He could easily finish last.
He could easily finish last. He's never driven here. He's essentially looked completely lost the entire weekend. His car,
But he brings the car home
yeah. Now, actually, I would say, ironically, a mandatory three-stop race helps them probably, right? Like,
because they're going to make 3 or 4 stops anyways.
yeah. So maybe that actually kind of
Like he's got to come in for a front wing. So everyone else at least has to come in too.
right.
We don't want no one's going to win.
No, we're not going to bet on somebody to win. Though. That doesn't make any sense.
No.
Yes. I don't want to
Without Max, does anyone have nice odds without Max?
Well, everybody has nice odds. Well, no, because it's just
Yeah.
the Mercedes. It's just the Mercedes.
Well, they're plus 240, plus 375. Those aren't terrible odds. Is it worth saying maybe it's not a Merc that's in P2? But then who is it?
Lando.
Alonso's plus 500, Lando's plus 5. You're saying Lando out of 10th over Piastri in 6th
No.
in the
Well,
same car?
okay. Okay, so Piastri, a lot of talk out of Japan that he didn't manage his tires well. That's the thing that he's got to learn, right? He's got to figure out how to manage his tires. That's the
Sure.
that's the element of superiority that Norris seems to have, which is kind of crazy to say. So think about that on balance, that right now within the McLaren camp, they're like, yo, Oscar is so fast that really the only difference between the two at this point is that Lando just has the experience and the wherewithal to manage his tires better. And we saw that in Japan. Like
Yeah.
they were fighting like for probably a little bit too long for because we were on them. We're like, let Lando go. He's way faster, right? But he just was managing his tires way better. He had way more grip. He had way more speed at that point. Now it's a mandatory three stopper. So
Yes.
technically
Oscar,
you get some
go
built-in management of your tires, right? It's not like he has to
Go
save them
wild.
for as long. So plus 750, dude, like maybe that's an interesting bet to make.
I mean, we're talking flyers here.
That's
But is that less of a flyer than the under 6 seconds?
Yeah, I like the under 6 seconds because it's just like you get the field, technically. Like if the idea is to be somewhat of a fade or a hedge on Max absolutely dominating to the point. Like again, I can only see him not leading after lap 10 because something happens to him.
Because George took him out.
Right. I don't know how else it could happen, right?
But then Lewis doesn't win the race by 6 seconds or 7 seconds.
Nobody
like
does.
it's a tight.
Like
nobody
nobody
else
does. Like nobody
No.
does, right? So that
And Checo's too far back to even threaten that he
Yeah.
would take over as the Max
So there's-
Verstappen.
no.
But,
and there's no point. So there's no
I
point
think
in
I
taking
like.
one
I think
car.
I like that better.
Okay. Yeah.
I think I like the under 6 better than Oscar. Like Oscar also has to get Charles.
Yeah. Like that bet that bet lives even if Max decides to pit and go for fastest lap or something at the end of the race, which is we've seen him do it. I mean,
So you're suggesting that he's going to have the championship locked up,
yeah,
the constructors locked up,
and he
and
does
he's
it
going to
anyway.
say, "I want that extra
Now,
point."
let's think about this. If anybody ever to be in a race car, could you rule that out?
For Max, no.
He's a
If
psychopath.
anything, if
Yeah,
anything, there's what are we risking? We've already won it all. Like,
yeah,
let me go get that
yes,
point.
exactly, right?
Yeah,
Literally
yeah,
he would literally do that.
yeah. Okay, yeah. Fuck it, dude. Let's do that.
You're sold. You're sold on it. Okay.
Yeah, let's do the 3. Yeah, well, I mean, I love a 750 and Oscar. I like this. This feels like it could happen. Oscar's like we're throwing a flyer.
Yeah.
Maybe
Big
Oscar
time.
finishes too.
Big
Yeah.
time. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. 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 Go read them back to me.
Okay, so we got the slip. We do odds order in the lines, right? So we've got both McLarens in the top 10 minus 250. We've got Red Bull either car to be leading lap 10 minus 225. We've got Leclerc in the top 6 at minus 110. And we've got the winning margin under 6 seconds at plus 500. So easy one first, $50 on the flyer, right? Or do you want 100? Ooh, is that easy? I think.
50.
Ooh,
No, 50.
50.
50.
50.
Yeah,
50.
50.
50. 50.
Okay, Leclerc. I'm just playing
Alarm's
him in
going
here.
off.
Isn't okay. Hold on. Minus 110.
Could you hear it?
No. No.
Okay.
I didn't hear it. And then winning margin.
Okay, man.
Okay. So 50 on the plus 5 hundo.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm plugging in.
We feel the best about the Red Bull.
I'm plugging in 600 on that right now. Just so like I'm just throwing that out there. Like how is that not minimum 600? Okay, maybe it's 550. Let me see what that looks like.
Hear me out. I had 550 in mind because I like when it's clean. Minus 225, 550. What's that? $200?
It's like it's like 794, but I don't know how it's not actually just rounded to 8. Okay, McLaren. So 4 hundo left, and you're
Do we
doing.
just go 2 and 2, or do we try to play around with the fact that the lines are different?
Yeah, let's do a little bit here. Let's go 250, 150.
250, yeah, 250. So you make the 100 on the McLaren.
Right.
250 and then 150
Yeah.
to make just over $100 on Leclerc. That makes $200. No, that makes $100 too. Or all our payouts just $100 on the long ones, basically.
Well, it's over 100 for Leclerc because it ends up being 286.
Just over.
Okay, so let's look at this. On balance, it's a 70, so it's a 70% profit slip, but half of that is
That's
pretty
with
well.
the winning margin.
Yeah, so it's pretty well being fueled by that. Um,
Do we take? Oh, do we take the McLaren off,
That's what I was
or do
thinking.
we take the Leclerc, off?
Okay, chaps. I'm
What
just gonna say
what has more inherent risk in your head? A 2-car bet that needs both cars, or picking one driver to do something specifically? Or are they
to
kind of balanced?
well, so I think we're almost oddly enough, I think we're almost even because Leclerc only has the one position to play with, whereas McLaren start in the points and have all 10. That's the
But
hardest part
need both
about that.
cars.
Yeah, but you
You
need
could
both
have
cars.
something
That's
go
like
wrong.
easy.
You have double the chance for something to go wrong with one car that
I'm
loses
taking.
the bet.
I'm gonna take McLaren off the slip.
If nothing else, maybe just because it's the longer line,
Yeah,
the shorter line.
I'll take McLaren off
I'm
the
just
slip.
gonna say them both.
Chaps, I'm gonna I'll say it. Like we have Leclerc now to finish in the top 6, which I don't think is. I think it's a good bet. Like we talked about it. Like I love the rationale
Yeah.
for it. And I don't like not diversifying. But like, would you be
Is two
Okay,
bets
so
diversified?
we lost all our money in Spa because we took a chance. We were like, we think it's going to rain. We think the McLarens have set their cars up to do that. We dumped on them and we played the coin flip game that you talked about earlier and we lost because it didn't rain.
If I may, we had a three-sided coin and we bet on two of those sides
Yes.
because we saw the sprint and it rained and McLaren was set up for the rain and we saw Piastri do wonders in the sprint. Today we're not making that mistake. We're here recording before the sprint. We're not letting that
Influence
ruin our
our
eyeballs.
exactly,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So we were pissed off about the result because we listen, like we didn't think that we covered ourselves off effectively because we dumped on one bet and played that game where you take a chance on the environmental factors influencing the outcome of the race. If we dump on Red Bull to be leading after lap 10, in which seems like the most obvious bet that we've come across maybe this season. It just happened in Suzuka,
Mm-hmm.
and it was like we didn't even realize we won after 10 laps. We're like,
No,
oh yeah,
literally, it was like
we hit
lap
that lap.
13.
Yeah,
I was like, oh shit, yeah, lap 10 passed.
yeah. Like so, I don't like you think about the factors. Like Max wins in the sprint, and then what has no incentive to go and win the race. Even then, do you think that the Mercedes are ahead of him after lap 10? I don't know. I don't think there's anything that they can do. Like we know that they're only there because of certain
They
things.
inherited those spots.
That's
Yeah.
that's the best part. Is like they're not even really showing good. So they're not quick at the
No.
beginning because they struggle to get their tires in the right window. They're only in the position to overtake Max potentially because of inheriting those spots. So like you've got all
Uh-huh.
of these different factors. Never mind the fact that like you just have the best car and the best driver of all time theoretically in
No, not
pole.
all the time, but today.
Well, like I don't know, dominant. Most I'm talking dominance, like theoretically, right?
No.
Just let me have my thing. That's what I'm saying. Doesn't matter. So if we, I guess my point is, if we dump and we lose, are you that upset?
But what are you saying? Only on dumping one or keeping Leclerc? Like, are
No,
you saying we go down to one bet in the flyer or two bets in the flyer?
I'm saying we have the one bet that's the flyer, and we just dump like I don't know.
You want to go everything on Red Bull leading lap 10.
Okay, so you bet 900, you win. So we can go for a quick 30%. 900 returns 1300 if you want to like if we're just like if we think disaster hits and we just somehow squeeze out with $600 because we've got the under 6 seconds winning margin. Like that would be like if Max isn't leading after lap 10 and we got to like wait the whole race to see if the winning margin is less than 6 seconds. That's a horrible spot to be in, obviously. I get that. But
Well, yeah. But also, we wouldn't be dead until.
we wouldn't
Well,
be dead
yeah.
until the end. Like I guess my point is like would you feel so the risk is that you lose everything. Like would you feel if Max isn't winning after
If we
lap
lost
10?
everything, I think I would be upset if we went in on one bet and lost everything again, and then Sunday I'd be like, well, why like we should have learned. We knew to diversify.
I guess my argument is this the same thing?
I'm not disagreeing with you.
Yeah.
Like,
It's
but
not the same thing.
I'm
Like
putting myself in
yeah.
that.
Like I don't think it's the same
It's
thing.
not
I
because
don't
we
think
were
it's
all on one team.
yeah, I don't think it's the same thing. Like I don't it's not the same thing as Spa because so the obvious factor is with this bet you take the best team and the best driver versus
Uh-huh.
one driver and one car and they're the best versus a team that was like up and coming but there's still some question marks, a team that we knew there were questions about how they were setting up their car and we understood exactly why they were doing what they did. I guess like I was more mad at us for making those spa bets than I've ever been losing a bet because we we were right in our analysis, but we were just playing. We were playing like I said, sort of like a coin flip game. We were playing an odds game.
Hmm.
I don't know if we're doing that here. Like you said it earlier when you mentioned you can't handicap the race assuming a car is going to come out. So we can't just assume that Max is going to come out of the race. He's never done that. If he doesn't come out of the race, then we can't come up with a scenario in which he's not leading up. Like I hate doing this because I feel like I'm talking.
Is that just Okay,
Is this a really dangerous game to
we're
play?
talking it out.
Yeah,
I'm devil's advocate.
yeah,
Is
do
it
it.
dangerous that our bet is a weeds bet? Like, does that maybe that's part of what I'm
I
feeling?
don't know if it is
That
though.
it's
Like,
not. We're not like on a team matchup, which we were. McLaren was a team matchup in Spa, and that lost. But this is like we got two weeds bets here: a lead a lap number and an under a winning
are
margin.
we just taking what the board is giving us? I mean, we jump on here.
That's true.
They've got these
That's true.
concerns
There's no
about
team matches.
tire
There's no
life.
groups.
Right? Like they take everything off the board for us. Like, do we just go and we exploit what they give us? Like, is that
So
not
you're suggesting 900 and 100,
900 and 100? Just
and
think
then
of
what's
like,
the total
well, the total's like nothing essentially. It's so the total
if
is
we win? If we win both,
not, well, we're not going to win both. It's 1900 if we win both. We're not doing that, obviously.
you
But
can win.
you could you could win both. Like let's not worry about that. All you need to worry about is
Yeah.
we're betting $900 on Red Bull to be leading after lap 10. Red Bull.
And so
leader
if that
after
wins,
lap
what's
10
that payout?
Teams. It pays 1300. It's you just like what we're doing is we're just like you're really sure that you're going to make 30% essentially.
Well, 20%, because then let's assume the other one loses. We lose $100.
No. It's 1300. So you get your 30%. It's 900 to win 1300. So you win over $1,000.
But then we lose a hundred on the winning margin. I'm saying.
No, but I'm saying the total return.
If you lose the winning margin's 1300.
Yeah. If you lose the winning margin, it's still we make 1300.
Okay.
So it's 30%. It's a 30% return on one bet that we can't come up like barring. I don't know. Who knows? Like I don't know. Maybe his car could explode in the sprint race and they don't have a car and then he can't race. I don't know. Like that. There's another session that exists. There's two other sessions in between now and then. Theoretically, anybody else's car could explode. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
I do. A huge factor of why I love the Red Bull leading is the fact that it's the Mercedes behind him. Because if they do get him early,
if it was the
they
Ferrari,
cannot,
like I know
they cannot hold him.
if it was the Ferrari, I would be like, I still love the bet, right? But I would be like,
Also,
let's think about it. Like, yeah,
this isn't Monza where Ferrari has top line speed on a power track that they can hold off the Red Bull for 15 laps.
no.
Like
this is
okay. You know what?
Yeah.
We're also up against the clock because I think they're going to take the odds down when the sprint starts, like in 10 minutes, right?
no,
So
there's a delay.
Let's do it.
You're good.
Let's do it.
Okay, I'm plugged.
Yeah.
I'm hitting it. So Red Bull leader after 10 laps team.
Either car.
Qatar
leader after 10 laps.
Qatar Grand Prix. I'm looking like I see it.
Make sure it doesn't say sprint.
It says Qatar Grand Prix.
Okay.
Right? I'm just making sure now. I'm not fucking triple guessing. So because you were having Qatar Grand Prix sprint. If you click on the bet,
Well, because yeah.
it shows.
Oh, let's see. Yeah.
It
Does
says
say
sprint.
sprint?
It says sprint. Yeah, on the prop itself. Okay, we got
Okay.
it. So Red Bull leader after lap 10 team. Qatar Grand Prix $900 at minus 225. I don't get it. And then we've got the under 6 seconds winning margin at the Qatar Grand Prix. Plus 500. We're going to put 100 on that just to.
$100.
It's a little hedge.
Last thing I'll say. Last devil's advocate.
Yep. Say
I hate myself if I didn't say it. Do we love the Red Bull? Do we love it more because we found a weird, like the line doesn't make sense more than we like the actual Red Bull leading the? I like Red Bull leading the race.
I like both, I guess. Like, I don't know. I like the fact that we found something that seems.
We fell in love with this. We fell in love with this because we saw the lines didn't make sense. Like really, right?
Yeah, but is that not the reason to take a like? That's the reason to exploit something, is it not?
Is that not the reason we turn our cameras and mics on? That's
Yeah.
kind of
So-
what we do here.
Okay, how about this, Chad?
Yeah.
I'll tell you this.
Yeah,
Okay,
actually.
remember earlier in the year when we looked at the book and we opened it up and it was like, for some reason, both McLarens to classify were like minus 250. Do you remember
Yes,
that?
I remember that.
And we were like, okay, well, let's look. Lando didn't come out of the first race. Piastri came out of one of the races with like damage, and then they hadn't been out of a race since then. And we were
I
like,
believe they finished like 13th and 14th.
buddy,
that
the
week or
first thing
something
that
like
happened was Lewis went into the back, or Lando went into the back of Lewis, and we're like, oh my god! And then he just finished the race because he just replaced his
Mhm.
wing, and then we looked at each other and we were like, we should have just put like $800 on that. Like why? That seemed
when
like,
we see it.
and then man, it never. I've looked at it every single time, and I haven't seen a both cars to classify bet be like less than minus 450. Like nothing's been longer than minus 450. They just shortened them up, and they should because look at how reliable the cars have become.
in this era.
in this era, which is excellent. Like I love it. I would much rather cars finish the
Imagine
race.
doing this show back when just
It
half
would
the cars
be
wouldn't finish.
mayhem, right? It would be insane.
You have to guess
Yeah.
who loses a bolt. Like,
So, that's exploiting. That's exploiting a line. And is this not the same thing? Like I don't. So we're not missing something here. Like if you go and look again at Max to be leading after lap 10, is it minus 275 or minus 250 or whatever it is? It doesn't matter. It's a longer it's a shorter odd.
yeah, it was longer.
So that
yeah,
it's shorter. Sorry, it's shorter.
or
Yeah.
I get confused with the minus.
It doesn't make any sense. Like we can agree
He's minus
we're not
275.
we're not missing something here. Like this doesn't make any sense. It's the same bet. You actually get an extra car.
I'm in. Let's do it.
Okay,
I'm in.
I'll place the bets now. Red Bull leader after 10 laps. Place bet. Oh my god. Needs to be approved by. They won't let. Okay, that's hilarious. Okay. Part of your bet needs to be
'cause it's
approved
too
by
big
a
of a
trader.
payout?
980 will be placed now. 20 needs to be approved. That's fine.
That's fine.
Yeah, and that's
They'll approve it.
You know what that means? The flags are going up.
We're on to something.
The flags are going up. They're
We're
going
on
to
it.
100% they adjust
We're
those
on to
odds.
something.
100% they adjust those odds. Oh, it's actually the winning margin. Sorry, I take it back. Never mind. Nope. That's hilarious.
Because we have too much money on winning margin?
Yeah, I don't know.
Interesting. Do I say that in our posts?
They approved it anyway. It doesn't matter.